The Sandstone Trail, 34 miles from Frodsham to Whitchurch in December 2023, January 2024 and April 2025. While visiting Liverpool on several occasions with my husband Steve, who was working on a ship in Birkenhead, and having exhausted walking all over Liverpool and the Wirral, I then ventured cautiously into rural Cheshire, where I had never set foot before, and was excited to discover the Sandstone Trail, which runs due south from the Mersey estuary along a mainly wooded Triassic sandstone ridge right through the middle of the county. This ancient ridgeway was traversed by Neolithic traders as they journeyed between the Mersey and the Severn. My guidebook states that along the way, the walker experiences the very best of Cheshire, ever-changing views and lofty panoramas over Wales and the Pennines, wooded escarpments, sandstone cliffs, viewpoints and caves, undulating oak-dotted pastures and farmland, vast and ancient sun-dappled Delamere forest, prehistoric hill forts, dramatic medieval and Victorian castles, half-timbered black and white and sandstone manor houses, farms and historic inns, Roman roads, sunken green lanes, pack-horse routes, saltways and old coach roads, tranquil rivers, streams and rural canals, mosses and meres, heather and heathland. It also has an abundance of flora and fauna, ranging from bluebells and blueberries to buzzards, barn owls, brown hares and butterflies. Doesn't that sound like it has it all? It certainly seemed so during the time that it took me to walk it on 3 individual days in 3 successive years. Stage 1, Frodsham to Gresties Waste, 10 miles. Liverpool's Christmas decorations looked beautiful in the early morning light as I walked across the city to catch a train to the start of the trail in Frodsham. Here is the start of the Sandstone Trail, next to the Bear's Paw pub in the market town of Frodsham. A cheeky holly tree in the churchyard of St Lawrence in Frodsham. The start of a very long steep climb up Overton Hill just outside Frodsham. First World War Memorial on Overton Hill, with great views towards the Mersey estuary and the Liverpool skyline. The trail runs for several miles along a wooded sandstone ridge from which there are panoramic views across to the Clwydian Range in Wales. Colourful sandstone cliffs on the ridge, and more sandstone cliffs. Homies near Alvanley Cliff. Austerton Old Hall, a genuine 15th century timber-framed manor house which was dismantled and moved from Nantwich to Alvanley in the 1970s. The trail runs for several miles through beautiful Delamere Forest, which is all that remains of 4 vast Norman hunting forests that once dominated medieval Cheshire. A milestone in Delamere Forest. Doolittle Moss Basin in Delamere Forest. Stage 2, Gresties Waste to Burwardsley, 12 miles. This stage was characterised by panoramic views, epic amounts of mud and some very long steep climbs. En route between Gresties Waste and Tarporley, looking out across the Cheshire Plain towards the Clorwidian Range in Wales. Heading up onto the ridge and typical scenery along much of my route. Lots of steep bits like this. I had to wallow through 6 fields of this south of Tarporley, and it actually got worse, but I couldn't take any photos because I was so busy trying to keep upright and prevent myself from sinking too far into the mire. No dry January for me, because by the time I had crossed those fields, my boots were full of disgusting, foul-smelling liquid slime, and I was covered in mud almost up to my waist. The Shropshire Union Canal. Approaching Beeston Crag and its 13th century castle, which has medieval defences, caves, deep historic wells and legendary lost treasure. I loved the red door on this barn at Castlegate Farm, opposite the entrance to Beeston Castle. Castlegate Farm. The entrance to Beeston Castle. I walked past some very attractive properties. More gorgeous properties with Beeston Castle in the background as I ascended into the Peckforton Hills. Gorgeous properties were coming thick and fast along the edge of the Peckforton Hills. The end of my 16-mile day. I had actually walked an extra 3 miles to reach the start of my walk in the morning, at the atmospheric Pheasant Inn in Burwoodsley, where Steve picked me up and we ate a delicious late lunch. View from the Pheasant Inn, looking out across the Cheshire Plain. Another view from the Pheasant Inn. Stage 3, Burwoodsley to Whitchurch, 15 miles. On the eve of Beltane in 2025, I finally had the opportunity to complete my final stage of the trail on a stunningly beautiful but very hot 19-mile day. Yes, I actually walked 19 miles, not the projected 15 miles indicated in my guidebook. To reach my continuation, I had stayed the previous night at a B&B in Whitchurch and then booked my first ever Uber taxi to take me to the village. When my driver and I started chatting on the outward journey, I was amazed and very excited to discover that he was a Hungarian shaman, and we had the most stimulating conversation discussing our many mutual interests and spiritual experiences. Yet another example of serendipity. What are the chances of 2 like-minded souls meeting each other like that? We both commented that such synchronicities had a habit of occurring to us on a regular basis. It would seem that there is an underlying order or pattern to the ways of the universe, rather than simply random occurrences or coincidences, and that people on a spiritual path increasingly experience events in this way. He told me that Glastonbury was one of his favourite places, and that he would be going there the following day to participate in the Beltane celebrations. My final day on the trail was such a social one because I met and chatted to loads of interesting people en route. They were all out taking advantage of the beautiful weather. They included dog walkers who provided me with interesting local info, day walkers with whom I was able to compare walking notes. One of them was wearing an entertaining t-shirt announcing that Clapton is God. Some highly creative ladies decorating Bickerton Church for the forthcoming 80th anniversary of VE Day. and several narrowboat owners who were luxuriating on board their boats in the sunshine and congratulating themselves on having chosen their laid-back way of life and surviving the rigours of spending winter on the canals. The start of my final stage just outside Burwoodsley. The birds, including a cuckoo, were singing their hearts out as I passed through the gate and saw the trail snaking its way ahead of me through the beautiful Cheshire countryside, and I was almost singing with joy too. Heading off into the woods on the high ridge in the Peckforton Hills. On a glorious morning with birdsong echoing in my ears. The first third of my day had a lot of gradient, and here is a typical example. The saving grace was that the trees provided some much needed shade from the escalating heat. Walking along the ridge through the woods on Bulkley Hill. Typical sandstone outcrops on the trail. More sandstone outcrops. There were even bluebells in the woods, but not on the scale that we have in the woods on our heavy boulder clay soil in southwest Cambridgeshire. The highest point on the trail at Rawhead, 746 feet. The view from the ruins of an Iron Age hill fort, Maiden Castle, looking outwards towards the mountains of Wales, obscured by the heat haze. Believe it or not, this is where Maiden Castle once stood. The middle section of my day was very hard work as I tramped through endless lumpy fields like this, inhabited by cows. But some of them were very pretty with dandelions and buttercups. On 2 occasions I had to wade through bogs containing raw sewage from said cattle, sinking up to my calves, an utterly disgusting experience. My boots may never be the same again. It was a relief to finally reach the Llangollen Canal at Willymore Lock, and then cruise the final 4 miles into Whitchurch. Trail signpost with flowering hawthorn behind it. The whole plant, including the berries, is considered to be a specific remedy for most cardiovascular ailments. See the North Downs Way for more information about hawthorn. The Llangollen Canal. Bridge over the canal. The wildflowers along the canal were profuse and very beautiful. I counted 50 different varieties in flower over the course of my day. Here is some speedwell or bird's eye and crosswort. Recent studies have shown that speedwell tea may be an effective preventative treatment for ulcers. It has most often been used for coughs and congestion, and as a lotion for irritated or infected skin. Crosswort has traditionally been used for healing wounds, edema, rheumatism and headaches, as well as disorders of the gastrointestinal tract. The flowers of common butterbur. You don't often see them looking like this. Butterbur has most commonly been used for treating migraines and hay fever. Cattail grass, also known as timothy, growing alongside the canal. Approaching Grindley Brook, just outside Whitchurch. The canal at Grindley Brook. A narrowboat passing through the locks at Grindley Brook. Between Grindley Brook and Whitchurch. Swing bridge as I turned off along the Whitchurch branch of the canal. Lovely black and white buildings in the centre of Whitchurch. The end or start of the Sandstone Trail in Whitchurch. Lessons learnt. Don't assume that working out hard in the gym every day and not walking much will be adequate preparation for walking long distances. Mud can almost stop you in your tracks. The mud I encountered in 6 fields just south of Tarporley was the worst I had ever experienced. Not only did it drain me of almost every ounce of my normally limitless energy, it threatened to drag me down into its Stygian depths. I almost didn't make it across. Don't underestimate the gradients on this trail. They were longer and steeper than I had bargained for. The Sandstone Trail opened officially in 1974, and its popularity has been increasing ever since.